Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. This time we're going to get into something pretty unique, huh?
Yeah, this one is fascinating.
It is. We're diving into excerpts from Thiago Motta's thesis on football.
Oh, wow. His thesis. Okay.
Yeah, the philosophy centered around, how do you say it? Il valore del pallone.
Il valore del pallone. The value of the ball.
There you go. See, I knew you'd come through with that perfect Italian. But yeah, one of you sent this in, I think, because you wanted to understand how a football legend, right, like Motta,
Yeah.
thinks about the game.
And how that mindset can translate to anything, really, right? Skill, confidence, success. I'm curious to see what he has to say.
Yeah, me too. It's not just about formations and tactics here, is it? We're getting into like the psychology of the game, seeing how being really good with the ball can change everything, from your own performance to how the whole team plays together.
That makes sense, yeah.
So Motta, he starts by taking us back to the beginning, his own, personal journey with the ball. It starts really simply, right? Like a gift from his dad.
Oh, that's nice.
I know, but then it becomes way more than that, doesn't it?
Oh, I bet. For a player like Motta, that ball, it probably becomes like his everything.
It does. He even says it transforms from this like childhood toy into like his tool. Almost, it's almost like a craftsman honing their instrument.
Like, yeah, a chef and his knives or something.
Exactly. It's like his craft. And he even talks about losing the ball becoming like a crime to him, something that has to be like fixed immediately.
Wow. So you can really feel that intensity from him. That just how important ball control is to his whole philosophy.
Oh, yeah, you can feel it in his writing for sure. And it's so interesting to see how that mindset developed, right? As he played in all these different leagues across Europe, Spain, Italy, France.
Each one of those with its own totally different style.
Totally.
Yeah.
But this core principle for Motta, it stayed with him, whether it was the technical like finesse of La Liga or the discipline of Serie A or, how physical League One is, that ball mastery, it was always there for him.
That's really interesting. So we see how dedicated he was to it.
Mhm.
But like, how does that actually, translate to the mental part of the game? Like, it can't just be about fancy footwork.
No, exactly. And Motta actually makes a really good point about how a lot of players, they actually limit themselves technically. And then that obviously has this huge impact on like how they perform, how confident they are, and then of course, how well the team does.
Right, because if one player's struggling, the whole team feels it.
For sure. And so Motta's thinking is like, it's about having that like deep down confidence in your ability to control what's happening on the field.
So like when you're really good with the ball, you're not panicking.
Right.
You can think clearly, make better decisions. It's kind of like, when you're good at something and it just feels easy, you're in your element.
It is like that. That's a great way to put it. And he even takes it further. He brings in these ideas of like coping and resilience.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying that like true mastery of the ball, it helps players handle pressure. It helps them bounce back from mistakes, stay composed when it matters most.
That's a fascinating point. So you're saying a player who like falls apart under pressure, they could actually get better by like focusing on their skills, like building that foundation, and it'll help them in all these other ways.
That's exactly what he's saying. And it goes even further than individual performance. He argues that this confidence with the ball, it actually leads to better communication and problem solving within the team.
It's like they're all on the same page then.
Totally, like a shared language. Everyone understands, what needs to happen without even saying a word. He calls this emotional intelligence on the field, which I think is really cool.
That's a cool way to think about it. It is like they could just sense what the other players are going to do. But what about like players who might not be as naturally gifted? Does Motta think you should only have like a team of superstars?
He actually pushes back against that completely. He talks about how dangerous it is to leave players out just because, maybe they're not as technically skilled as others.
He wants everyone to feel included.
He does. He actually emphasizes the need for empathy. He says everyone has something to offer. Every player has strengths. And that a team where everyone feels valued, that's crucial for success.
So it's not just about individual talent, but how they all fit together.
Exactly. And that leads us to this really cool connection that Motta makes between ball mastery and creative thinking.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought of that. Creative thinking in football.
Oh, right? It's not something you think about immediately, but it makes total sense.
Okay, I'm curious. Tell me more.
So he's saying that when players aren't scared of losing the ball, their minds can like open up. It's like when you're so comfortable with something, you can experiment, you can take risks, you find these unexpected solutions.
Oh, that's a good point. It's like you can like let go and just try things out.
Yeah. And he even compares it to, get this, that famous Einstein quote, imagination is more important than knowledge. He's saying it's about going beyond like the strictness of formations and tactics, and tapping into that creative spark.
Wow. So it's about intuition, that gut feeling,
Yeah.
not just following the rules.
Exactly. Motta thinks when you're not always worried about messing up, you're going to be way more likely to take risks, try new things. It's all about trusting your instincts and just letting that creativity flow.
It's true. You see that in so many fields, not just football.
Absolutely. Think about artists, musicians, entrepreneurs, like the ability to push boundaries. It comes from that confidence and mastery. And I'm betting all of this ties into Motta's ideas about motivation and training, which we should talk about more after this.
Yeah. I want to hear about that. Let's take a break and we'll come back to that.
We've been talking about, how Thiago Motta sees that ball mastery as like the foundation for everything, right? Confidence and creativity on the pitch. But like, what about that, that feeling inside, like I can actually do this?
Oh, yeah. Self-belief.
That's it. Yeah. Self-belief. Does he ever talk about that?
He does. Yeah. And that's where he brings in this idea of like self-efficacy, that like deep down belief in your ability to actually achieve what you want. And Motta, he thinks that consistent focused training, especially with the ball, that's how you build that.
So the more a player practices, refines their skills, the more they start to like believe in themselves.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. It's almost like a positive feedback loop, right?
Yeah.
You see the results and it just makes you want to push even further.
Makes total sense.
And this is where Motta brings up something pretty interesting. It's called flow state.
Flow state. Okay.
Yeah, have you ever heard athletes talk about that?
Right.
Like being completely in the zone, performing at their absolute best.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like when you're so focused on something that like time kind of disappears, you're just totally in it.
That's it. That's flow state. And Motta thinks mastering your craft, whatever it is, can help you get to that like peak performance level.
I like that.
He even quotes Pele, who said it was like this strange calm, he called it, euphoric, where he felt like he could run all day without getting tired, dribble past anyone, almost like physically passing through the other team.
Wow. What an image. Like almost superhuman.
It is, right. And it shows just how important that mental side is to being truly great. It's not just about physical skill. It's that like mental edge that comes from mastery and believing in yourself. But, we've been talking a lot about the individual player, the psychology. What about like the whole team?
Yeah.
Like tactics and strategy.
Yeah. How does all of this actually play out on the field?
That's when things get really interesting because Motta moves from the individual to the whole team. And he uses some awesome examples to show what he means.
He actually looks at specific teams.
Oh, yeah. He analyzes a few. One of them is Marcelo Bielsa's Leeds United.
Oh, yeah. I know them.
They're known for their crazy energy, those quick transitions, and the freedom they have within their system.
Right. They're like super intense, but so it's not just about keeping possession to like show off. There's a purpose behind it.
Exactly. Motta points out how Leeds use that ball control to like manipulate the other team. They create space, and then boom, they launch these quick vertical attacks.
It's like beautiful chaos.
Right. And it takes a ton of trust and understanding between the players to pull it off. Now, another team he talks about is the German national team under Joachim Löw.
Oh, yeah. Powerhouse team. Known for their pressing, that high defensive line, always trying to win the ball back.
Exactly. They embody that idea of like turning defense into attack in a heartbeat. It's like what Jurgen Klopp calls gegenpressing, winning it back as soon as you lose it.
It puts so much pressure on the other team. But that can backfire too, right? If the players aren't confident, they can win the ball back.
Totally. It needs that deep belief in your skills.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you hesitate, you hold back, and the whole system falls apart. So it all comes back to that core idea, the value of the ball.
Motta's arguing that a team that's built on this on-ball mastery, they're just naturally more confident, more creative, and in the end, they win more.
That's the goal, right. But how does he actually get players to this level? Like, what does his training look like?
Okay, yeah, let's get into that.
So Motta believes in recreating real game situations as much as possible. He wants them working with the ball constantly, making decisions under pressure, and developing that, like, intuition we talked about.
So none of that, like, running laps around the field stuff?
Yeah. Nope, not for Motta. He wants to make training dynamic, engaging, something that makes players think critically and creatively, adapt, solve problems, and trust their instincts.
It's like instead of memorizing plays, they're learning how to, like, read the game, make decisions in real time?
Exactly. And that makes for way more motivated players.
It does. It gives them ownership. They're not just robots following orders. They're part of the learning process.
And that creates a team that plays together. But, it's striking me that these lessons, they go way beyond football.
Oh, for sure.
This whole thing about mastering something, having self-belief, creative problem solving, it's relevant to everything.
Totally. Like whether it's sports, business, art, anything that takes dedication, Motta's ideas apply. It's about finding that ball in your own life, that thing you're passionate about, and just going all in on it.
Absolutely. It's about pushing yourself, getting out of your comfort zone, and always looking for ways to get better.
And just as important, it's about that belief in yourself, that self-efficacy that keeps you going.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So we've covered a lot about Thiago Motta and his philosophy. We've seen how important that mental side is, the power of mastering something, and how creative thinking fits in.
And they've seen that these ideas, they're not just for football. They can be applied to anything.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Il valore del pallone, we'll leave you with this. What's your ball? What are you passionate about?
What can you do today to get better at it, to unlock your full potential?
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep learning, and don't ever underestimate the power of mastering your ball. Okay, so we were talking about how Thiago Motta's training, it's all about connecting practice to the actual game. So what does that look like? What does he really focus on?
I think the core idea is to constantly be working with the ball. Like, he believes that players, they need to have this intuitive connection where it's like the ball's an extension of how they think,
Oh, I see. So it's more than just the physical drills. It's about being mentally sharp, being able to think and react without, like, overthinking it.
Exactly, yeah. And the way he does this is by making training sessions super dynamic, like a real match. So instead of, like, those old school drills, he makes players make decisions when they're under pressure. They have to adapt, be creative.
So like I say, right, perfect practice makes perfect. So if you're always training in a way that's like the real game, then you're going to be way more prepared when it matters.
100%. And this way of training, it also impacts the whole team. Players are challenged, they're engaged, they're more motivated. It's more exciting than just, going through the motions.
It's like a culture of always learning, always growing. And that can translate to how they play together on the field.
Exactly. Motta believes that training this way, you're not just teaching individual skills, you're also building this, like, collective intelligence. They all understand the game. They can work as a unit.
Yeah, like they're all speaking the same language, the language of the ball. They can read each other's minds, make quick decisions. It's more than just individual talent.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's amazing how something that seems so simple, like ball mastery, can affect the player, the team, and who wins or loses.
You're right. It makes you rethink what it means to, really master something, to be so confident, so good. It's like second nature. And we've been saying all along, this applies to so much more than just football.
Oh, yeah, for sure. These lessons, they apply to anything. Sports, business, art, anything you're dedicated to. It's about finding that thing, that ball in your own life and becoming the best you can be at it.
It's about pushing yourself, getting out of that comfort zone and always trying to be better.
And never forgetting to believe in yourself. That's key.
This has been a great deep dive into Thiago Motta and how he sees the game. We've learned so much about the mental side of things, how powerful mastery can be, and how important it is to be creative.
And how all of these ideas, they're not just for football. They're for life, really.
So as we wrap up our look at Il valore del pallone, we want to leave you with this question. What's your ball? What are you passionate about? What can you start doing today to get better at it and reach your full potential?
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep learning,
And never underestimate the power of mastering your ball.